Good morning, dear parents, dear teachers, dear students, and all assembled here on the occasion of India's Independence Day and Sri Aurobindo's birthday. You see, as a person progresses in age, he gets away with talking a little bit about himself. I propose to do exactly that today. Please pardon me for the liberty that I am taking. I was one day, and so were the parents and the teachers here, one day like these young boys and girls, and I was a reasonably patriotic Indian. As time passed, I landed up for my post-graduation in France, in an MBA college of international repute, which it still is, and there were 144 students in my class. I was the lone Indian. It fell on me, to those who are not even familiar with India, to clarify conceptions, to also exemplify in a small way, in a very modest way, what India stood for. You see, what we don't realize is India is almost a continent, something my friends still tell me. So therefore, sitting within India, we never realize what it is to look at India from outside. It is like looking at the earth from space. So anyway, I tried my modest bit, and somewhere along the line, it was in 1984, almost 40 years ago. In the month of October, our dear Prime Minister, one of India's most popular leaders, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, got assassinated, end of October. It was a great blow, not just for me, but I had great trouble explaining that the notion of India that I was expounding was in sharp conflict with what happened that day. Thereafter, after a very brief interlude, Rajiv Gandhi came to power as India's Prime Minister. And Rajiv Gandhi announced a new industrial policy. By that time, I had passed out my MBA. I had taken a job with Philips International in the Netherlands. The same issue continued. I was the only young man in Eindhoven, in the south of Holland, who had to stand for what India meant. And of course, I wrote papers, I explained to the authorities what India is. Barring STD-ISD booths that Sam Pitroda did, and some things here and there, the great promise of Rajiv Gandhi fizzled out when he too was assassinated. It is at that point, quite devastated, I turned once again to Sri Aurobindo for answers. Why is that important today? This celebration of India that we are doing today, we have to wonder what we are celebrating. Are we celebrating assassinations of our most beloved leaders? Are we supporting, promoting, and admiring ethnic and sectarian conflict? Are we sending armies to quell rebellions? What is it that we are celebrating? When I turned to Sri Aurobindo, I came across a letter, an exchange of letters between Dilip Kumar Roy, one of Sri Aurobindo's most favorite disciples, and Sri Aurobindo himself. In that letter, in 1948, Sri Aurobindo answers to Dilip Kumar Roy what the condition of India will be after independence. He uses phrases like corruption and moral degradation. And there's a line in the letter he says, where he says the confusion will grow worse and worse till it reaches an impossible situation, and then India will once again look within to find a solution, and it will find it. And when it finds that solution, that that solution will be important not just for India but for the whole world. In the Karmayogin, Sri Aurobindo famously said, India's freedom is not important just for India itself. It's a subordinate feature. What is important is what India can give the world. The world carries on almost meaninglessly. If you look at the war in Ukraine, if you look at the situation of the people in Ukraine today, when you go to any consulate today and see Europe supports Ukraine, you see the helplessness, the despair, and apparently savage behavior of humans in the 21st century. I have gone to the Middle East after the Orange Revolution. You see a similar situation also after the Gulf War that plagued the Middle East. Across the world, there is uncertainty like never before. Sri Aurobindo envisioned an India that can answer to the world's queries, and he believed that the essence of India was enough to give that answer, and of course Indians too must strive. Now I come to a completely different phenomenon. In the 1950s, there were 3 prime ministers of India. They were not all prime ministers together, but there were 3 prime ministers in succession who visited the mother in Sri Aurobindo Ashram, Pondicherry. Who were they? Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, our first prime minister. Sri Lal Bahadur Shastri, our second prime minister. And Srimati Indira Gandhi, our third prime minister. They were accompanied by Sri Kamaraj, the leader of the Congress in Tamil Nadu. Where did they meet? They met in the ashram playground. What was the backdrop? You still see that photograph. It's on public display, the mother talking to Pandit Nehru with Shastri ji, Kamaraj ji and Indira ji listening in. Backdrop for that meeting in the ashram playground was the flag that you still see, or rather an image that you still see next to our open air stage here. What does it say? Spiritual map of India. It was the map of the Indian subcontinent, and it was the mother's symbol within it. So what I'm trying to say is, the flag that we unfurled here today, which we call the mother's flag, for want of a better name, is what Mother called the spiritual map of India, the map of India's civilization, whereas this represents the political entity that we call India, which is bounded by Rajasthan in the west, Arunachal in the south, Arunachal in the east, Tamil Nadu in the south. What is the difference? The difference is India is something the world is waiting for, and believe you me, I'm not lying there. Look up any newspaper, any journal, ask anybody. India is a miracle waiting to happen for 76 years plus. It is a miracle the world needs to get beyond war, conflict, sectarianism, bigotry. Who said it? Not me. Swami Vivekananda in Chicago in the Parliament of Religions. And he famously quoted there in the concluding part of his speech the Bhagavad Gita. Nothing else but the Bhagavad Gita. So what is India today? India is a miracle waiting to happen. India is a magic that is moving from the freedom that we have obtained in 1947, which allows Indians to think and dream freely within some parameters, to a point where Indians, proud of their civilizational heritage, will give it to the rest of the world. That is what Sri Aurobindo wrote in his letter to Dilip Kumar Roy on Vande Mataram as a dance song. The way to get beyond all of this is rediscovering India. the map for rediscovering India, the flag for the rediscovery of India is not just the political entity that we call India. It is a civilizational quest. It is a quest that is there in each one of us through legacy and tradition, through millions of years. What we have obtained from our ancestors is the only thing we can give to us. That is why on every Independence Day we salute two things. India's past, or three things. India's present and India's future. Thank you very much.